Welcome to the Outer Hebrides. This is the WINFL show. I'm your host, Ian McKinnon, for the second time, because we had issues the first time I tried to do this. I'm joined this week by Jake McGee. Hello, Jake.
Peeling back the curtain. This is the first time only.
Let's go with that then. Dave Somerville. Hello, Dave.
I'm not letting you away with it. Long time no see, not. There was no technical issues whatsoever caused by no updates to any certain software at all.
We won't mention the software. And
Correct.
We're joined by author, Bears fan, friend of the podcast, returning guest, Mr. Ben Isaacs. Ben, it's always a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. It's a pleasure to come back on such a professionally run and slick operation such as this. I generally don't do two takes of anything, but let's just carry on as if nothing has happened and that the person running the show on the boards is not consuming alcohol and taking his eye off the ball.
It's got nothing to do with the alcohol. This is my first drink of the night.
Yeah.
I had an update. I had to update the software, and for some reason we did try this, and Ben wasn't coming through, and then I noticed nobody was coming through except for me, and nobody wants a podcast where it's just me talking. Nobody wants that. So
no silence says nothing. Yep.
Terrible. Ben, you're looking well.
Yeah, I know. Thank you.
Have you lost weight? I think you have.
It kind of bothers me that you would say that, because I have, and you're not the first person to say it to me, but it's not a whole lot of weight, and people have said, like, oh yeah, I can see it off your face, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I look slim and young before. I might look slightly slimmer and slightly younger. My body fat is in the fitness range right now. I need to try and get it down further. I'd like to get it into athlete range, but honestly, before I came on here, I did have a pizza and chocolate. So
that's a funny topping for a pizza.
Yeah, I was in a hurry, so I just combined courses. So I don't think I'm going to get into the athlete range in the next week. Especially my wife's away in Vegas at a convention, which means I am eating a lot of rubbish and feeding my daughter a lot of rubbish. So that's the thing that's happening. But I have lost a little bit weight. Thank you for noticing.
That's quite all right. Listen, I didn't know if it was maybe just because did you not see you've got a different camera and different cameras change the shape of your face? It does it. That's a thing. That is a thing that happens.
That's fair. But yeah, you're not the first person to say it. I haven't noticed it, and other people have. So I'm starting to think, okay, well, this is probably a thing. I don't want to put words in people's mouths, but I am a ripped hunk, I would guess. I think that's how people would presumably describe me.
Sounds about right.
Ripped hunk with oiled up bears.
I have to oil my bear on a regular basis.
Oh, my goodness.
My bear had a good oiling on the weekend. Very, very slick boy, that bear. And more oiling to come, because I had a delivery of some special Danish oil that I'm going to rub over my bear probably again this weekend. Danish oil. Google it.
Absolutely. Under no circumstances am I Googling any of this conversation whatsoever. The recommended reels on Instagram alone will ruin my algorithm whatsoever. Google oil up bears.
Okay.
How do you take care of your wood?
Oh my word! What have we stumbled onto here? My goodness!
Because mine is out there, outside.
It's
constantly.
Outside. It's constantly. It's always got the fresh air about it, isn't it?
It's better for the wood.
Now,
allegedly.
So, well, did Storm Flores affect you at all, or was it just Scotland that battered?
It's been lovely and sunny here, I'm afraid.
So as you know, as our regular listeners and viewers indeed will know, that we are slightly obsessed with the weather here on the WINFL show. Every time we speak to someone else, the weather's nicer where they are than it is here. So you've had it
Obviously.
lovely, Sonny. Obviously. We are slightly weather dependent, you know. People can't get off the island because ferries are cancelled and flights are cancelled, and it's been very windy and wet the past couple of days. So
are we talking weather, or are we talking, is that a personal thing?
That's
Speak back to the diet questions, I suppose.
all right.
And for those who don't know, you know, my bear
Yes.
who gets oiled is named after a storm. You know, I'm weather obsessed too. His name is Bert because he was bought during Storm Bert at the local kind of Christmas fair that they put on, that they had to just cancel halfway through because all the kind of stalls were blowing away. Needless to say, my big hefty bear was not blowing away anywhere.
Good. Glad to hear. Glad to hear that Bert's okay and he survived the winter. That's
Yeah,
the main
I mean,
thing.
I might have to get him inside during the winter, but right now he's standing proud out in the elements,
Wonderful.
getting oiled.
Quite right. Now, we do actually have an NFL podcast to discuss. We've got the deep dives. It's the NFC North, hence why we have Mr. Ben Isaacs here. But before we actually go into our deep dive, there was one big bit of news. We've sort of not really been doing the news while we've been doing the deep dives. But the announcements of the TV rights deals in the UK for the NFL. Now, we know that Sky Sports is doing its thing. As usual, DAZN, which Jake's not a fan of at the moment, DAZN, they have their thing. You can subscribe to that, or they can just take money off you, and you know
Yes,
nothing about it. They will do that.
They'll do that.
But then the big news for a lot of people is that Channel 5 are getting a 6 p.m. game and a 9 p.m. game every Sunday. Now, my only question is, we will talk about this, because obviously they're not going to be showing the same games that Sky is showing. They'll be showing two different games. So does that mean DAZN will have 4 blacked out games? Because I think it might be. Ben, give us your take on this, and then we can check their team.
It was stressing me because I could see online for weeks people getting worried that Sky were not going to get the rights. I was seeing people like sending abusive messages to like the Sky Sports account, angry that they hadn't confirmed about, you know, the NFL. And I knew that it was all sorted and about this Channel 5 thing, and you know, my lips were sealed, and I just kept seeing people talk about the Channel 5 thing. And because they've been doing kind of like test recordings for the Channel 5 one, there are people out there who were in the studio audience, because it will have a live studio audience like an old-timey kind of sitcom, or more accurately, like a Saturday night game show.
Yeah.
So people who were there, I'm guessing they had to sign an NDA. And the problem is that I imagine some of those people, a lot of those people, stuck to the NDA and didn't talk about it publicly. And some people couldn't help themselves. And I imagine that in certain groups, whether it's a WhatsApp group, or I heard there was a lot of it on Facebook, where certain people kept talking about this Channel 5 thing. And I think people didn't quite believe them, because these are the sort of people who couldn't keep their mouths shut and were always talking about something that they didn't really know about. It was like, I'm taking that with a pinch of salt. But those people were correct. I think this is going to be amazing. I have no idea what the broadcast is going to be like. I was talking to a neighbour of mine. He was horrified that Dermot O'Leary is going to be the host.
Yeah.
And I think Dermot O'Leary is a huge NFL fan.
Mm-hmm.
He played when he was in university.
Mm-hmm.
He's a knowledgeable fan, and he loves the game. So I'm willing to certainly give him a chance. I mean, not like I have any say in it anyway, but I'm more than happy to see him do it. It's him, Sam Quek, and Osi Umenyiora that are going to do the Channel 5 thing. those aren't names that will really surprise anyone, obviously. It's going to live and die on how much people enjoy watching the live games. There's going to be so many people moaning about the game show element of the broadcast. I don't know how much of the broadcast will be game show. I don't even know how much, whether it's just to amuse the people in the studio audience and that the TV audience will barely see any of it. I don't know. But if the games are good, I don't think anyone is going to care about those things. And Ian, you and I have been watching this game on TV in the UK for a very long time.
Yeah.
From the point where there would be an hour of highlights once a week, and it was the previous week's highlights.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we could have imagined. Well, we wouldn't have known there was a fifth TV channel coming, but the idea that a new terrestrial channel would exist that would be one button further along than Channel 4, that was going to show a live game at 6 o'clock and then go straight into another game at 9 o'clock, and you could watch two live games back to back and go to bed. I don't think we could have, our brains could not have comprehended such a thing at that point. So the idea that Channel 5, I mean, I don't know what Channel 5 would be normally showing on a Sunday evening during the autumn and winter. I mean, I don't have a stack of old copies of Radio Times here to kind of look and say, oh, so that's what they were showing. Clearly, whatever they were showing, they don't think it would get as many viewers as a niche sport for like 7 or 8 hours, which is interesting. They must feel that it's a good bet. My assumption is they are not paying anything for the coverage, which is not uncommon in Europe. Sky do pay, which is part of the reason Sky get to black out those games on DAZN. I would be stunned if the Channel 5 games are also blacked out. I could be wrong. I'm not basing this on any inside knowledge. It is my educated guess that the Sky games will continue to be blacked out on Game Pass, but the Channel 5 games won't be. There are going to be loads of people who have either a passing interest in the NFL or don't watch the NFL, perhaps don't have Sky Sports, don't have access to a load of stuff, and it's there. In the same way, Ian, you and I, and lots of people back then, it was there on Channel 4, and like, oh, I'll give that a go. It's right there. And that's what will happen. Now, whether those people are going to get hooked, I don't know. But it's mind-blowing that there will be, and it's an entire evening, all the way through the regular season. I have no idea what the postseason plan is. No idea whatsoever. But all the way through the regular season, every Sunday evening is just dedicated to the NFL on Channel 5, which is great for those people who don't want DAZN and Sky Sports, haven't got the financial resources for DAZN and Sky Sports, and just get to watch 2 games every week. Another guess, Sky will have first pick. So
probably, yeah.
And a lot of the times the Sky game is the one that, well, okay, that's kind of obvious game that you might want to see. It's not necessarily the most entertaining game in the end. Sometimes that second choice can end up being a bit more exciting. You might end up seeing a wider mix of teams. I don't know. But not since the days of the red button multi-choice that we had in like the mid-2000s on Sky, where if a game was boring, you could just press if your team was on the red button. But if a game was boring, it's an ad break, I'm going over to the other game. That was great. And then when we lost that felt like a real step backwards.
It did. It absolutely did, yeah.
That was a killer. And now we've kind of got that. And I would imagine there'll be some people who think, you know what, I want a budget. I'm not paying for Sky this season. I'm going to just have Channel 5, or I'm not going to pay for Game Pass. I'm just going to go with Sky and Channel 5. It's super exciting. I hope it's a success. If the game show elements are bad and people hate them, then they'll change them. I personally, if I wanted to do something that was going to bring in people who were not hardcore fans already, and I needed something, I would base it around fantasy and I would push like a Channel 5 branded weekly fantasy game, and it would be like I would have the hosts able to access a kind of live leaderboard of like the top 10. They're like, right now, we're just starting the fourth quarter in the first game. Jake McGee is 2 points ahead of whoever, and the people playing the game are like, oh, I'm on TV. So I would have done it like that, because I think you can keep that going and you can keep more people interested with that. But I'm sure they've done their research. Not to say it'll work, but I'm sure they've got a plan for this. And what if it's fun? What if it's fun? Some people are going to hate it. It could be fun, but this is the biggest thing happen UK since we got a game in London. That's how I see it. This is massive. This is your mates who you talk about the NFL to, who are never going to like watch it on Sky or watch it on Game Pass. They can just give it a go. And if there's a great game on and you send them a text saying, seriously, stick this game on, watch 20 minutes and you'll be hooked. I think it's going to bring in a lot of fans, and I love it. And I realize I've talked for about 20 minutes straight now.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. We're a long way, Ben. Sorry, Jake, Dave, we're not ignoring you. It's just that you're young and you don't remember this. But we've come a long way from me sticking an aerial out of my window trying to get the Armed Forces radio on a Sunday night because they would have a game on at 1 o'clock in the morning, and picking up some weird Spanish opera or something. I don't know what that is. And meanwhile, I can hear us a third down. It was so difficult back then. One program, as you say, of the week, the highlights of the game the week before. And when they did the Saturday afternoon magazine program, Red 42, Blitz,
yep.
Those were the days.
When they added the Tuesday broadcast in 1987, when it was like Tuesday, so those games were super fresh.
Yeah.
The first Tuesday night broadcast they did was Monday Night Football. That game hadn't finished 24 hours before, and it was right there. So I know people can access any game they want illegally one way or another if they want, but it is a hassle and it is not good quality. Whereas people can sit on their sofa, press a button, and it will be there in glorious HD with no issues with Channel 5. It's such an amazing breakthrough. I love it.
It is. Very quickly, because we don't run out of time. Jake McGee, what's your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are, I love DAZN until I don't love DAZN. Because I've had no issues with the Game Pass. I actually really quite enjoyed their Game Pass. I think I pay like 4 times a year, and I get it all year round, and all the games minus the blackout games. But the good news is I'm a Saints fan, so it doesn't really affect me. So my games are always on DAZN. Obviously the Red Zone. But then I got an email from them yesterday telling me they're going to take £49.48 this month. I was like, I'm going to cancel because you're not going to do that, I'm afraid. So I'll wait for a promo. I'll get a promo code, because I was on a live chat talking to the person, like, I'll just wait for a promo and come back. And then she was like, yeah, you probably would do that. And I was like, well, can we skip that part and you just give me the promo code? No, there's no promo available at the moment. I was like, you do realize how stupid that is? And she was like, I really do. I was like, wow, she hates her job, but respect. So I will go back to DAZN. But it's great to have the option, like Ben says, not only that Sky are keeping the games, because whether you love or hate the Sky coverage, that's 2 games. And they show the late game, they just don't have any commentary over it. So if anything, it's even better if you don't like the Sky games. But the Channel 5, like you say, I'm very interested. I certainly will watch it just to see if it's for me, because if it is for me, this is great. If it's not for me, hey, I've got other avenues.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Dave, what's your thoughts?
I think we may have just secured the long-term future in the UK of the NFL, because we were all at some point, looking at terrestrial TV, as it were, and watching the NFL on terrestrial TV. And that is how we kind of cemented our love of the game kind of thing. And I think that door may have just opened up for maybe the kind of younger audiences in particular, because, not a whole lot of parents are going to subscribe to Sky Sports just for their 10, 11-year-old to watch the NFL. It's about the extremely low number of that would happen. But, if it's on Channel 5, it's something for them to watch. They can be aware of. They can interact online as well with all all the terrestrial channels now are obviously online. So Channel 5 is going to be online. So I presume it would be online. It would be a heck of a loss of the business if they weren't. So I can't say I've seen them myself, but it is just securing the future, I think. But this kind of thing has to continue. We need a couple of years of this at least to get people properly into the game and, get their teeth permanently sunk in.
Yeah, and I think as long as the product, Ben, is of a standard, we're not looking for the greatest thing ever as far as presenting and production goes. We just want to see games. Just want to see games. As long as it's not awful, we can live with it.
If it's awful, like, what if it's awful, but kids love it, and we hate it? We could just mute our TVs. We can go on social media, see what people are saying about all the other games or whatever. I just don't know how it's going to go. And David, you're absolutely right. Like the young kids, there's not a whole lot of sports, load of live sport on terrestrial TV.
Especially on a Sunday evening. It just don't exist,
Yeah. So for a lot of, not every house has Sky.
No.
And obviously no house is going to have Game Pass unless there is a big fan of the sport in the house. So the idea that young people will be able to just see this, and if it's getting buzz and their friends are talking about it, the fact that they can just check it out. And I do feel the best way to become a fan is to watch games in full, basically.
Yes.
Red Zone is brilliant for what it is. You learn nothing about the game from watching Red Zone, but you really do from watching an entire game and it being enthralling, and you actually see the context for everything.
Yeah.
Red Zone is great entertainment. It's a bit like junk food, You can't live on it. Whereas those, you watch a live game, and it's not always every kind of spectacular play, but it's something that's absorbing, and it's a kind of game of attrition, and it's field position, and it can be low scoring, and defenses are on top playing brilliantly, and it's a well-coached game. You don't necessarily see a lot of that on Red Zone.
No, of course
so not. I hope that kids are going to, I was going to say tune in. The idea, tune in. The kids are going to watch. They're going to fall for the complexities of the game. They're going to love they're going to come for the spectacular bits.
Yeah.
And they're going to stay for the strategy. That's my hope. And I think you're right, David. It should secure the next generation of fans. Yeah. And they're not going to have the money to go to the games in London, most likely. That's perhaps out of most kids' pocket money range.
It's out of my pocket money range.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
So I like 7-year-old me would have loved this. Yeah. I mean, 7-year-old me would have been like, wait, the games are how long? Didn't feel that way on the highlights, but they'll get used to it. We know that kids have got great attention spans.
Of course they do. Of course they do.
You see in America, they've got the Nickelodeon, they've got SpongeBob doing it, they've got The Simpsons doing it. So America are clearly doing it in terms of trying to keep it. So if it is game showy, then we'll see.
That's a great point, Jake. I would love it if Channel 5 are able to get the rights to those and put those games on as like an extra option. Oh, yeah, I think they're great fun. So, yeah, exactly.
What's the name of the starfish in SpongeBob?
Patrick.
Yes, Ben, it's all great until Patrick is ripping your team a new one on Christmas Day. When Russell Wilson's thrown his third interception or whatever it was. Didn't like that at all.
I think the first Nickelodeon game was Jake, wasn't it? That playoff game where the Saints beat the Bears in a wild card round in, I'm not sure what year, but Mitch Trubisky was the Bears quarterback. The Bears kind of backed into the playoffs. I can't remember, like a team lost on the last week of the season, so the Bears got in.
2021.
That might have been the first Nickelodeon game, and it was the best thing about the game was the Nickelodeon bits. So, yeah.
From a Bears fan's point of view.
Well, we always recommend, remember on this show that Mitch Trubisky was an MVP.
Yes.
Don't ever forget it.
The MVP.
There we go. MVP.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky. Now, another thing you can do, if you don't want to watch Channel 5 and you don't want to pay for DAZN or you don't want to pay for Sky Sports, is you can tune into the WINFL show where we do live streams on a Sunday of a game and we don't know which game we're going to be streaming. No idea. We're not actually showing the game. We're showing us talking about the game. That's how it goes.
Did you consider bidding for the rights, the live rights?
Well, if I knew Channel 5 were getting it for nothing, then I would have done. Because I think
it probably required a financial commitment to like how much they were going to publicize it, but and maybe they were not totally confident that you would have done all the correct updates to get it going out.
Join us in the third quarter.
It'd be like the Heidi game.
The Heidi game, my goodness. Last year we had a couple of issues, but that was because other people weren't joining the streaming time, just saying. Anyway, we've got an NFC North division to talk about. We do have to move on. We've been on for so long, my goodness. It's the NFC North. Last year, the Detroit Lions finished with a 15-2 record. Second place was the Minnesota Vikings with a quite surprising 14-3 record. Green Bay Packers were in third place with 11-6, and the Chicago Bears with a 5-12 record, bringing up the rear. And we're going to start with the Detroit Lions. As I mentioned, yes, they were first place. We always start with the first place team, Dave.
Yeah,
every single time.
Predictions, and then we'll revisit this.
Oh my word! So you see what I'm dealing with, Ben. You see what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, this might be why you wouldn't have got the rights, to be fair.
Because of Dave. You're right. That's what it was. That's what it was.
He's no Sam Quek.
He's not. That's a good point. Detroit Lions, Dave, 15-2. Points for 564. Led the NFL in points scored. Points against 342. That was seventh in the NFL. Difference of 222. Detroit Lions, 2025. Take it away.
Well, this is going to be, I think this could be the most up in the air team in the entire league this year, because I have no idea what to expect from the Lions, especially they've got two new coordinators. So Ben Johnson is away to the Bears, and that's an instant positive for the Bears. Aaron Glenn's gone to the Jets. That seems a very Jets move anyway. They've brought in two new kind of green coordinators. They brought in John Morton, our offensive coordinator. I don't know much about him. I know a bit more about Kelvin Shepherd, though. Kelvin Shepherd was part of the Lions back team and worked under Glenn, I think, 2020, 2021. I think I looked up in my notes. But I think they're going to be pretty... I think they might suffer a bit under these new coordinators. I don't think it's going to have the same impact. I think Ben Johnson is just great, so that was never going to be an easy task to replace him. They're coming off the back of a 15-2 season as well, with back-to-back NFC North championships. However, there has been quite a few changes, as I said, even on the roster. So Frank Ragnow is gone. One of the best centers in the entire league is retired, and there's a few different potential things that they can do. Maybe they might move the old Graham Glasgow back to center. I think he's still there, if I remember rightly. But they also drafted an offensive lineman in the draft in the second round. Tate Ratledge out of Georgia. He could adjust somewhere. He could fit in somewhere along there or replace someone. But they've still got Jared Goff, which means they're always going to fall short whatever happens in this year. They actually had Teddy B last year as a backup quarterback. Well, once he left high school, his high school team, they've replaced him with Kyle Allen. So if anything happens to Goff whatsoever, Kyle Allen coming in is, it's not going to be very good. It's going to be kind of Skylar Thompson-esque, I reckon, in Miami last year. They're coming off a 15-2 record, which was very, very good. But I don't feel like they're going to get anywhere near that. They really need to utilize the running back room. Positives though, Aiden Hutchinson's coming back from his injury. Hopefully he'll be raring to go. I think they've got Ali McNeil is expected to miss the early part of the season, but it's very much an unknown. They've brought in some players. They brought in DJ Reed as well on the defense, which is huge. They've lost Carlton Davis, who was one of the best cornerbacks in the NFC last year, from my own personal point of view. Zadarius Smith is gone. Emmanuel Mosley is gone. They brought in Rocky Sin and Avonte Maddox and Zach Cunningham at linebacker. I'm predicting a regression from the Lions. I don't think they're going to progress. They've got 11 of their games are against the 2024 playoff teams, which is the most in the NFL, joint with the Eagles. So that is my kind of rundown of everything. But I'm expecting a regression from the Lions. I think they'll still be fighting for that first place, but we'll see.
And Ben, the thing is, Dave talked about a regression from the Lions. They had the 7th ranked defense without Aiden Hutchinson for most of the season. That guy was on course to be defensive. He looked like the runaway winner for Defensive Player of the Year. They had the number 1 scoring offense. And I know that, as Dave mentioned, a couple of coaches gone here and there, but they've still got the core of players. And with Hutchinson coming back, that defense should be better than ever. What do you make of the Lions quickly?
Historically, teams that do well and then lose both coordinators due to that success, they tend to take a step backwards. Better teams than the Lions have taken a significant step backwards, having to bed in new coordinators. If anyone can choose the right coordinators, it'll be Dan Campbell. Mm-hmm. That is something that he's been good at. He's a CEO style head coach. He's not someone who's calling the plays. He is very good at hiring people. I think they've got people who will do a good job, but the odds makers have got the win total for the Lions at 10.5, which is the highest in the division. But for a 15-win team to go to 10.5, that suggests that in terms of the win-loss record, that there will be a regression. I think the Lions are still the team to beat in the division, and I think they're going to win the division. But I think this is like an 11-win team rather than a 15-win team. And Ben Johnson seemed to get the best play you could get out of Jared Goff. If Jared Goff doesn't, and I'm not saying he won't, but if he doesn't get that level of coaching, Jared Goff is not someone that, we're winning because we've got Jared Goff. We're winning because someone has a game plan that suits Jared Goff down to the ground. If there's any step back in the coaching, then that's a big step back for the Lions in what is already a very competitive division.
And Jake, it is a very competitive division. As we've already mentioned, 3 teams with winning records, 3 teams with 11 or more wins in the division there. But the Lions are the favourites. I think 11 seems a little bit low. Was it 10.5? Sorry? 10.5?
Yeah.
It's a little bit on the low side. I would maybe have bumped that up a wee bit. Personally, I think the Lions are going to be just fine this year. But what do you think of Detroit's chances going into 2025?
Yeah, you look at their strength of schedule, it's, I think, 3rd toughest. If you look at their preparation and rest, they have the first easiest schedule in the NFL. They play almost every team coming off 1 day less prep or 3 days less prep. So it makes that strength of schedule a lot easier if you're having a lot more prep time. But to Dave and Ben's point, you only have to look a year or 2 back to the Philadelphia Eagles and ask them how losing 2 coordinators makes you play, because they did not win a division and then they sorted out the coordinators and they went and won the Super Bowl. So if they've nailed the coordinators, maybe it'll be absolutely fine, but there will be teething problems. but with the additions and more importantly, the players coming back from injury, I still expect them to do pretty well.
Yeah. So we're going to move on, gentlemen. We come to our next team, which is the Minnesota Vikings. Last year with a 14-3 record, they scored 432, which was 9th best in the NFL, and they allowed 332, 5th best in the NFL. This NFC North, we knew it was good, but my goodness. So they had a points differential of 100. Jake, the Vikings was your team, but as we know, it's all going to be about the quarterback, isn't it?
It certainly is going to be about the quarterback, and some interesting things coming out of camp where Justin Jefferson's being like, yeah, it's going okay. Like, well, that's not the most reassuring thing I've ever heard in my life. The Vikings have the 28th strength of schedule, the 21st prep, overall 30th toughest kind of schedule this year. But the good news is we will see plenty of the Vikings early, as 4 of their first 5 games are standalone. They start at Bears on the Monday Night Football. They play the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. They play at the Steelers, but in Dublin, and then at the Browns, but in London. So having 2 international games back-to-back is pretty rough, but both of them being classed as away games is pretty huge, really, because you would have thought they would have had to have lost a home game for one of them, but getting that sorted that they don't lose any home field advantage hopefully helps them later on down the line. The only normal kickoff before the bye is the Bengals, so not exactly an easy game, not on standalone TV. After the bye, they play the Eagles. They have the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. They've got the Lions coming off a bye, and then the Ravens, who played Thursday Night Football the week before. So the Ravens coming off some extra rest as well. So when you're playing the teams like the Lions and the Ravens, and they've got more time to prepare for you, not ideal situation at all. We mentioned, obviously, JJ McCarthy, poised to lead the offense, but the real efforts have been made to support him. They've splashed the cash on Ryan Kelly and Will Fries from the Colts. They drafted Donovan Jackson in the first round, so the offensive line should be, in theory, a lot better. John Mason coming in seems like a real 1-2 with Aaron Jones rather than a 1 and a 2. It's going to be a 1A, 1B. So we'll be interested to see how much he kind of takes away from Aaron Jones, especially towards the goal line. And defensively, they lost Cam Bynum, but Jonathan Arnold and Javon Hargrave added on the defensive line. End of the day, I do think a 14-win season was pretty fluky. I can't see them kind of maintaining that, but this defense is phenomenal. You've got some of the best weapons in the NFL. If you can just get subpar quarterback play, there's no reason why they shouldn't hit double digits. The problem is we have no idea what quarterback play they're going to get.
And this is the thing, Ben. It's JJ McCarthy. We don't know what we're going to get from this guy. He was very hyped coming out. He's got the greatest receiver in the NFL, or at least top 2 in pretty much everyone's, in Justin Jefferson there. He's got weapons. He's got a great defense. The running game looks okay. As long as he is okay, the Vikings should be okay. What do you make of them?
And in Kevin O'Connell, they've got perhaps the head coach that is most likely to get wins out of quarterbacks who don't necessarily deserve it. We saw it with Darnold. We saw it with various people who've come through Minnesota and played a couple of games and looked much better than they have anywhere else. If he's going to succeed, he's in the right place. He's only lost 3 games since he finished elementary school, which is incredible. He's a very good high school and college career in terms of win-loss record. I was never completely sold on him as an elite prospect. I've seen some Vikings fans very high on him based on what they saw in preseason last year. He played half a preseason game. You do not make any judgments on half a preseason game, good or bad. It's nothing. We have no idea what we're going to get from JJ McCarthy. He's in the perfect situation. If you were any quarterback, that's the one you would want to be in. Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, and all those other weapons. The odds makers have got that win total at 9.5. I think for some of these NFC North teams, that win total is quite low, in part because of how hard the division's going to be, and they're going to take wins away from each other. But I think the Vikings were a bit fluky. last season. I don't think they were as good as that record suggested. And it's worth pointing out that even though the NFC North sent 3 teams to the playoffs, none of them won a game. So maybe they were not quite as good as we thought. But if JJ McCarthy is good and he's better than Sam Darnold, then they shouldn't take a big step backwards. That's an improvement.
And David, it could very well be an improvement. We've all said it. We don't know what JJ McCarthy's going to be, but if he comes out of the gates looking like Jaden Daniels, compared to, again, I hate to have a go at Darnold, but it was Sam Darnold. Do you know what I mean? And they won 14 games. You put a possible upgraded quarterback of JJ McCarthy there. Why do you think they could regress, or do you think they could do even better than they did last year? I know it's a tall order.
I think I don't really know. They've got all the weapons. They've got everything they need. They decided obviously to move on from Darnold because they've got McCarthy. That was kind of to be expected. But I'm worried that McCarthy is going to turn out less Jaden Daniels, more Mitch Trubisky. No offense to the MVP there, but he never lived up to what the potential was, or people that thought the potential was. So I'm, or maybe you can say Justin Fields. Sorry, Ben, I'm kind of piling in on Bears quarterbacks here, but the potential was always so high, and I think McCarthy. There's so much potential with McCarthy there. But at the same time, the draft that he was in, was it not 6 quarterbacks in the first round, with Bo Nix being number 6 and McCarthy being number 5?
6 out of 12, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, see if you put McCarthy into other drafts, would he be going in like that kind of top 10 in every single draft? I'm not so sure.
Well, I'm going to be honest.
If he was in the most recent draft, he would have been the first quarterback.
He'd have been number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Or top 2 or 3. Yeah, absolutely. He would have been. And everyone said that if Cam Ward had been in last year's draft, he wouldn't have been a first rounder. Or maybe at the back end of the first round.
Yeah, and I really like Cam Ward, but there is the very strong possibility that, and I actually think Cam Ward's a better prospect than JJ McCarthy, but I think that's what would have happened. He would have been taken later than JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, so I think we just need to wait and see on the Vikings. They're an enigma, and we don't know what we're getting because we haven't seen JJ play. And once we see that, then we can do it. That may or may not be reflected in my record prediction. Just saying. We're going to move on to the Green Bay Packers. Last year, 11-6. They scored 460 points. That was 8th best in the NFL. They allowed 338. That was 6th best in the NFL. All 3 of those teams had a top 10 offense and defense. It's just unbelievable in the same division. So they had points differential of 122. Some notable players. So in the draft, as we know, they took wide receiver Matthew Golden out of Texas with their first round. In the second round, it was Anthony Belton from North Carolina State. So they're really trying to boost the offense there for Jordan Love. Some guys that they signed in free agency, McCall Hardman from Kansas City, the wide receiver, he comes in. And they also got guard Aaron Banks from San Francisco. I'm saying from San Francisco. It wasn't a trade, free agent, unrestricted free agent. And they got a cornerback, Nate Hobbs, from the Raiders. They re-signed kicker Brandon McManus to give them some stability. And then they signed kicker Mark McNamee from the International Player Program, whatever it's called, Pathway, that's the one. So he's coming over from Ireland. And this could be fun. Brandon McManus, listen, if you want anyone to teach a kicker how to kick consistently and in clutch moments, Brandon McManus is as good as you can get. He really is, especially these days, just saying. Now, out, Jair Alexander is the biggest name that is out of the building for the Packers here. And I look at them, 11-6. Last year, Jordan Love played well when he was healthy. He wasn't healthy the whole season. And it's easy to forget that he played when he wasn't healthy. He was injured, he was niggled, and he still played. They went 11-6. I look at the Packers, and I think they might actually be slightly better this year. Some of the changes, some of the players going out, to bring some players in to replace them, they really seem to be going for the offense, these Green Bay Packers for 2025. Ben, I'll throw it over to you first, because the Packers are another team where, like, what are we going to get from these guys? Because we know the running game can be fantastic. We've seen Jordan Love play some games where he looks like prime Aaron Rodgers. Maybe not prime Aaron Rodgers, but you know what I mean. He just looks absolutely spectacular. Other times, a little bit more inconsistent. They did lose Jair Alexander, but how much do you think that and some of the other ones, because they did a little bit of swapping around the Packers, but that was the biggest name that they lost. How much do you think that'll actually affect them? Because I look at the Packers going into this season and say, they might actually be better this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they will be better this year. And I think that's in part because Jordan Love played almost the entire season injured. Mm-hmm. It's why they were leaning on the run game so much. I think he will take a step forward. What's interesting is that Brett Favre won 1 Super Bowl as a Packer. Aaron Rodgers won 1 Super Bowl as a Packer. And it's the season they were 27. Jordan Love's 27 this season. So if he doesn't win the Super Bowl this year, it won't happen again. We saw that with Favre and Rodgers as reliable regular season quarterbacks who just couldn't do it in the playoffs. So this might be Jordan Love's season. I'm bullish on the Packers' chances this year. They're also 9.5 on the win total, same as the Vikings. I think they are better than the Vikings right now, and maybe that's because I'm pretty confident about what we're going to see from Jordan Love compared to what we're going to see from JJ McCarthy. I didn't love the Packers draft. I haven't loved their off season, but I'm just thinking we are going to see a different Jordan Love next season, and that when we look back on his career, if he has a fantastic career, we'll look at the 2024 year as a bit of a blip. And it's not that he was terrible, but that injury at the start of the season bothered him all year. This is a team, I think, that will really challenge the Lions for the division title.
And Jake, as Ben mentioned there, they did make some changes, the Packers, but they didn't make any huge splash moves. They didn't sign a superstar name. Jair Alexander was basically the biggest one that they let go. The draft, you look at it and you go, but having them the same as Minnesota with the 9.5 just seems ridiculous, because all things being equal, no one getting injured, we should be able to say, we can't say it, but we should be able to say Jordan Love is going to be better than JJ McCarthy. What do you make of the Green Bay Packers, Jake?
Jordan Love will be better than JJ McCarthy. Splash wise, I think the Packers overpaid on Aaron Banks. I think it's 4 years, like $77 million. But then on the flip side, they got a bargain, I would say, with Zach Tom when they extended him. They got great value on one of the best tackles in the league. So, you take that overall on the offensive line, they've probably turned out, net positive. Nate Hobbs at this stage of his career is better than Jair Alexander. Jair Alexander is a name brand at this point of his career. I mean, he was phenomenal, got rewarded with a big contract, and played about 3 games since because just injuries caught up to him, which is horrible to see. And he is now going to be asked to be more of a role player on the Ravens, and hopefully that suits him better. But I still think that is, again, an upgrade for the Packers. In terms of their kind of schedule, they play 3 of their last 4 on the road, and that home game is the Ravens, so not ideal. No. They play back-to-back road games 3 different times, which is always going to be a kind of difficult runs for teams, where you all of a sudden lose 2 games away from home, you're fighting uphill. But I'm agreeing with everybody here in terms of, I think the Packers, if anything, have improved, and I don't see them taking a step back, whereas I think you can easily make cases for the Lions and the Vikings for taking a step back.
Yeah, you can indeed. Dave, the Packers, as I mentioned earlier on, the running game, the running back room in Green Bay is fantastic. That's a really good running back room, but last year they had to be. This year, it might actually improve, because if you've got a healthy Jordan Love, and you've got wide receivers out there. If this kid Golden, turns out to be good, and we know that the Green Bay Packers have a history of really good wide receiver, like one really good wide receiver. They've been doing it since the 90s, since the 80s. If this kid turns out to be good, and they can get anything decent out of Mecole Hardman, and they've got the running game, and Love is healthy, there's no reason to think the Packers can't win this division. What do you make of them?
Yes. I mean, Jake kind of said what I was about to say with the end of their schedule being kind of very unkind to them. I would say anyway, because I think I just think that they've done enough to at least be kind of neck and neck with the Lions this year. I think the Vikings are maybe just a little bit behind. It's more because if JJ McCarthy is not as good as kind of Jordan Love, or maybe as important to the Vikings as Jordan Love is to the Packers, then I think that they may be a game or two behind them. I don't foresee any of the teams in the division being complete disappointments or write-offs. I think they'll all be sort of very competitive. The Packers in particular, though, I would expect to be right up there the majority of the season. I kind of got them losing out of the regular season. The last 3 games, all losing. We'll come to the actual predictions, but yeah, that would be the only thing that would worry me, is maybe have they got the consistency? Because we saw what they did, was it 2 years ago to Dallas? In Dallas, they just annihilated them in what turned out to be comedy. Yeah, absolute comedy, and we were all loving it. But you know that they haven't had any consistency since. Obviously, injuries to some of their key players have really affected that with Jair Alexander, especially last year. I think if Alexander is fit and healthy for the year and he's gone to the Ravens, I think that should be illegal, because that is not fair. But I think what you said with Golden is very, very true. If they've got a connection between Jordan Love and Golden, look, the division is completely open. I think this is going to be the closest division in the entire league, and all 4 of the teams are going to be involved in it.
So we come to our final team. It is the Chicago Bears. It's Ben Isaacs' Chicago Bears. Now, last year didn't quite work out for them. 5-12. They scored 310 points. That was 28th in the NFL. They allowed 370, which is 13th. So it's not so bad. You know, it's top 50%. Negative 60 points differential. Ben Isaacs, the Chicago Bears, another team where you can kind of look at them and say, this might be all about the quarterback again. But give us your thoughts on the Bears. Feel free to give us your thoughts on last year and, of course, 2025. What are you looking from the Chicago Bears?
17-0, Caleb Williams, MVP.
Heard it here first.
Adam Rank's on the podcast.
It looks like
it. But seriously, guys. This is a team that should be massively improved. They were arguably the worst coached team in the league last year. The defense was not as good as that points total suggests. They were pushed around far too often. They struggled to rush the passer. But Caleb Williams obviously had a really disappointing season. He had a terrible offensive scheme. He had 3 different play callers during the season, which is ridiculous. And the Bears rightfully cleared house. They did something they'd never done before, which, considering they're well over 100 years old, they had never fired a coach during the season. And they did it. Now, Ben Johnson, from my understanding, he would have taken the Bears job a year earlier if it had been available. He was just waiting for that job to become available and knew it was going to be available, so took it when he could. Bringing in Dennis Allen to run that defense is just the sort of thing you need when you are a young first-time head coach. You want an expert, experienced former head coach as the coordinator on the other side of the ball. Someone you can just be like, okay, well, I'm going to check in with you every now and again, but I'm going to leave you to run the show. I'm not going to say, look, have you thought about doing this? The offensive line has been rebuilt. They've added Drew Dalman, Joe Tooney, and Jonah Jackson. How good they'll all be, I can't be sure, but it was possibly the worst offensive line in football last season. So for Caleb Williams, if you've got perhaps the worst offensive line and the worst coaches, what chance have you got? And there were certain games where he looked really bloody good. And I was able to see him in person twice last season. And in both of those games, when they played the Packers and they played the Jaguars, he was the best player on the field. So that's not to be sniffed at. I have total faith in Caleb Williams' ability. If Ben Johnson and the offensive line can bring up Caleb Williams, then he can be fantastic. Now, he's got so many weapons. Keenan Allen just didn't really do anything last season, and they were more than happy to let Keenan Allen walk away. So, as well as Rome Odunze and DJ Moore and the reliable tight end Cole Kmet, they drafted Colston Loveland, who is an absolute mismatch of a tight end, and Luther Burden, who is a wide receiver who perhaps in another year might have been a first rounder, but he was a second rounder. This is all well and good, but there's only so many balls to go around. So the fact that you've got these 2 good tight ends and 3 wide receivers, yes, you may have plenty of plays where all those 5 are going to be on the field, but they didn't address running back properly. They could have got a new starting running back, which I think they desperately needed. The running game has been anemic, and maybe Ben Johnson is going to have a scheme that means that the run game will be good again. I'm not totally convinced. I really feel like that's something they should have upgraded. The defense is not massively upgraded at all. We'll see if Deo and Grady Jarrett can do something there, but I am not sold on that defense. I think Dennis Allen will make that defense better than it was last season, but there are still big holes on that defense as well as in the running back room. So those things bother me. It's a really difficult schedule. It's a really difficult division. Remarkably, the win-loss is 8.5. Now, that's, for those of you keeping score at home, is only 1 behind Minnesota and Green Bay and only 2 behind Detroit. I don't feel that there's going to be a 2-game difference between whoever finishes first and whoever finishes fourth. And I do think this is going to be a very competitive division, but I don't see a situation where the team finishing bottom of the NFC North was 2 games out from winning the division. I think the Bears are going to be fun to watch on offense. They're going to be better. If Ben Johnson is as good in Chicago as he was in Detroit, then Bears fans have got a lot to look forward to. But there are still so many holes on this roster that it's hard to think that they can catch any of the 3 teams ahead of them. Personally, that's how I feel, at least this season.
And Dave, the thing with Chicago is, it's bringing the new coach. Having the defensive coordinator, as Ben said, an experienced defensive coordinator is a godsend. Because when you look at some of the teams, like Philadelphia Eagles, do you think that what's the head? I forgot the head coach's name, Sirianni. Sirianni. He just turned to Vic Fangio and went, "Do you know what? Do your thing. I'll ignore what you're doing and I'll just concentrate on this." And it works. It just works. And it's worked time and time again. We've seen this time and time again, where you just get a defensive coordinator and then the head coach can just go, take it. Unless, of course, it's a defensive-minded head coach. And just go, take it. Do what you want so I can concentrate. And when you've got a guy like that, it can be good, but you still need the players. And looking at this Chicago team, not convinced they do. Dave, what do you think of this Bears team in 2025?
I think the offense is going to be much, much more improved. I don't see a world where Ben Johnson does not cook up some amazing things, because of what he was able to do in Detroit, the plays, obviously him with Dan Campbell as well, the confidence instilled that the players had to execute those plays. I think was pretty. It's just intelligent. It's very, very intelligent coaching, and I think they have a head coach now that if they, like you said, if you've got a head coach in this situation where he concentrates on the offense, you've got your defensive coordinator who is purely focused on the defense, and you trust him completely not to. I don't want to say meddle. Meddle's the wrong word, but to have a few. Well, actually, maybe you should try that, or just let him do his thing, like with the Fangio Sirianni situation. I think that bodes well for a good season. But I am agreeing with Ben on a few areas that they haven't completely addressed some of their needs to really close the gap on the rest of the division. I think the difference though is that I think in the division, I can't call it, but in the division, one team is going to end up with injuries at some point, and that's what's going to be the turning point of the majority of the division. I think one team will end up with some sort of divisions. Looking at Jonah Jackson being on the Bears, I'm worried it's going to be the Bears because the Rams gave him a big contract and he was best friends with a physio more than anyone else. But Ben Johnson took him from the Rams to the Bears because of his time at the Lions. He knows what he can offer because he's a top quality guard when he's not lying in the physio room. So can I get him fit? Yes, that would be massive for the offensive line. That would also be massive for the run game as well for the Bears. So I'm looking forward to it. And I think Ben is 100% right. The Bears are going to be fun unless you're a Bears fan.
Oh, Jake, the Bears. I'm not confident in this offensive line. I know they got Tooney in, but last year was appalling. Caleb Williams nearly got killed back there. And there's only so much of that's schemes and coaching. He just got let down by his players. And he did have a tendency to hang on to the ball a little bit too long at times. Some of those sacks were his fault, but he's young. That will improve. But I don't know. What do you make of the Bears, particularly this offense? Because, we've spoken about the defense, and we all think that the defense should be better, despite the fact that they don't have a lot of player upgrades. But this offense, people are automatically going to compare it to Detroit. I think that's a fallacy to do that, considering, no offense, Ben, I think there's a huge gulf of talent between Detroit and Chicago on the offensive side of the ball. Jake, what's your thoughts on the Bears?
I mean, for me, obviously, they've tried to address as much as possible. There's not really a team in the NFL that has undergone as many changes as the Bears.
Yeah.
I do feel like, and I think from the sounds of it, we're all in agreement, it's probably a year too early for the Bears. They've made a lot of changes. They've brought in some veterans. They've drafted some young weapons. They've hopefully got the quarterback. They've definitely got their coach because he was the belle of the ball. And he wanted the Bears, and the Bears wanted him, so it's a perfect fit. I absolutely, at the time, told you how much I loved that Dennis Allen hire for them. Offensively, like I say, maybe bold prediction. I can see, of all the weapons on the offense, who's going to kind of get phased out because you can only feed so many people. I think DJ Moore's probably going to be the odd one out. I think Robert Dunze is going to become the 1A. I think he's certainly going to be Caleb Williams' best friend. You've got a tight end that's going to cause all sorts of troubles with Carson Loveland and Cole Kmet, who, as Ben mentioned, is just reliable. You know what he's going to do.
Excellent.
He'll do a job. Schedule-wise, I mean, a very early Week 5 bye with the Vikings at Lions, playing the Cowboys and at the Raiders. Probably the worst final 3 games. Dave has the Packers losing out. I'll be amazed if we don't all have the Bears losing out. They play they play versus the Packers, at the 49ers, home to the Lions. I mean, if the NFC North is close at the end of the season, those 2 of those 3 games could be absolutely electric, but that is about as tough as it comes to end the season.
It certainly could. And that essentially wraps up our NFC North deep dive. The only thing left for us to do is to give our predictions for records. Now, why don't I go first so we can just get this out of the way? Just get it out of the way, because Ben, I need to just forewarn you here. When I do my record predictions, what I do is I get every single matchup on my screen and I say, who's going to win that game? And then I click it. And then at the end of it, I look and I've got 3 winless teams and 2 undefeated teams. I'm like, okay, that's not going to happen. I have to change it around a bit. But this will get redone pre-kickoff. I've got the Detroit Lions winning the division with another 15-2 record. I think they're going to be absolutely fine.
What?
Absolutely fine. In second place, they've got the Green Bay Packers. They do improve, but only to the tune of 12-5. Packers are 12-5. Third place, I've got the Minnesota Vikings. I think it's not going to work out for JJ McCarthy at all. I think it's going to be bad. 4-13.
Oh, what?
And in last place, it's the Chicago Bears.
They're gonna have negative wins at this rate.
Also 4-13. That's what I've
This
got.
is-
I don't
this
trust
is-
it. Oh,
this is
listen,
mad.
listen, it is
This is
mad. I told you I wanted to get this out of the way quickly. Want to get it done. There it is. That's what we've got. Jake's passed out. Ben's had an aneurysm. Don't know what Dave's up to.
I'm just disgusted.
So I'll tell you what. Why don't Ben? We can leave you till last because you're a guest if you want. Jake McGee, seeing as you absolutely despise what I've just said there, why don't you give us your predictions for the NFC North? Go for it.
Please, some common sense here, Jake. Please.
Pressure's on now because that is one thing to follow. I have the Detroit Lions winning the division purely on the divisional record. They win 12 games, lose 5. They go 4-2 in the division. The Green Bay Packers also on 12-5, going 3-3 in the division. The Minnesota Vikings regressing not to the level of 4 wins, or
I think
they go
insanity.
they go 9-8 and are 3-3 in the division. As you can see, the NFC North is eating itself alive, and the Chicago Bears do improve a year too early though. 8-9, going 2-4 in the division.
I mean,
That was very sensible. Very
Thank you, Vince.
sensible.
so, sensible doesn't mean accurate. Just means
No, but the idea that the Vikings would be a 4-win team.
Maybe the bus gets hit by an asteroid. Dave alluded to some injuries, so maybe they just roll out Kevin O'Connell has to play quarterback again.
Oh,
we are one Justin Jefferson sprained ankle away from last year's Vikings team being
Jordan Addison and TJ
being
Hawkinson.
8-9. Yeah, you
okay,
were.
8-9.
No, last year's team was
Yeah.
one thing, being a maybe
One
8
injury
and 9.
away from 8-9. And what's it going to take then for 4-13?
An
They all
asteroid hit
get
the bus.
COVID every Sunday.
Couple. Listen, I told you how this works. I didn't say it was good. I just told you how it was.
This could turn out to be the greatest take of all time in 6 months when the Vikings are like 3-12 going into, and I'll be like, what did he know?
I'm just saying. Well, I will revisit this before the kickoff. Dave, what's your predictions for the NFC North?
I would just like to say that your predictions do not represent our podcast in any way, shape, or form for the absolute hate that you are going to get. I am taking myself out of this equation, but we are going to start now. Ben said earlier on in the podcast he does not see top and bottom being separated by 2 wins. I disagree because I have 2 wins between top and bottom. Now, unlike some, I don't have 8 wins between top and bottom because, that would be just pure insanity.
I actually had 11.
Between first and third.
11.
8 wins between first and third.
Well, that's right. Yeah, first and third. There you go. Anyway, moving on because, we're not all insane on this podcast. But I do have the Detroit Lions winning on the divisional record because I have them with a 10-7 record. 4-2 within the division. I then have the Packers getting the 6th seed. Sorry, the Lions will have the 4th seed in the NFC. The Packers will have the 6th seed in the NFC with a 10-7 record and a 3-3 interdivisional. Then we have the Vikings in third with an 8-9 record, and we have the Bears rounding up with an 8-9 record. So that is my prediction. I think the Vikings have a 3-3, and the Bears have a 2-4. So there you go.
Also sensible.
I can confidently say that it is more likely that the top and the bottom division, top and bottom of the division are split by 11 wins than 2 wins. I'm just saying.
I'm quite happy with my 4. I think that's sensible.
Jake's much more sensible.
Yeah.
Much more sensible. I think Dave's completely wrong in this. But then Ben is here to tell us what's actually going to happen. Guaranteed.
Oh, do you know what? I was
in the NFC North.
On such a great run on Edge Rush, where once again I had won the picks competition against the spread, that when it came to the Super Bowl, I was so confident. I've been fascinated by the win totals, and I think there's certainly money to be made. I haven't broken it down with the division record, like as in the record within the division, like you more thorough guys have done. I've got the Lions going 12-5. Winning the division. I've got the Packers at 11-6. I've got the Vikings at 9-8, which I felt was like, oh God, I'm really having the Vikings regress, and the Bears on 7-10. So 5 wins between first and fourth, sorry, in mine. And when you were saying, Ian, about like you almost apologizing in advance for what you were going to say about the Bears record, and I was like, oh well, I didn't want to say, look, I've got them losing double-digit games. I didn't expect you to say they were going to be worse than last season, and that the Vikings would be so much worse because they don't have Sam Darnold anymore. And the idea that they would have won like only 9 games if Justin Jefferson was injured, but somehow losing Sam Darnold means that basically the franchise doesn't need to exist anymore. Sam Darnold. The loss of Sam Darnold has just destroyed the Vikings, apparently.
It's just that I don't know what JJ McCarthy's going to look like.
He could be a blind man. They'll win 4 games with that roster.
Yeah, and that coaching.
I did say I apologize in advance.
Who was the guy? Who was the was it? Who came in for like 2 games? Not last season before.
Nick Mullins
for the Vikings.
Mullins, right? Yeah,
Nick Mullins.
Nick Mullins, yeah, I think he's right.
No, I'm thinking there's someone else, someone even worse than that. There was. Oh man, who was it? That funny-looking guy. I can't believe his name is escaping me right now. But not last season, season before, he came in. I can't know if they kind of picked him up as a free agent. They desperately needed someone. He played a couple of games, and everyone was like, "Oh, maybe he is good after all." And by the 3rd game, he's carriage attendant.
Oh, it wasn't the wasn't the bald guy, was it?
Yes. What's his name?
Did he not?
Joshua Dobbs.
Joshua Dobbs.
Exactly.
Josh Dobbs.
So,
well done, Jake.
Kevin O'Connell made Josh Dobbs look like a legit NFL starter for a few games until everyone was able to figure out, okay, look, we know how to beat Josh Dobbs. JJ McCarthy is a hell of a lot better than Josh Dobbs.
We think.
And I think just based on all evidence, to the point where I think if they had Josh Dobbs, they could be a 4-win team, maybe. I think they'd probably still get more than 4 wins with that offense, that coaching, that defense, the whole shebang. JJ McCarthy might not be that great. You can have a game manager in that team, and you will be above 500.
I'm not
So-
defending my picks. I apologize for them.
Have some self confidence, and
I have no confidence in my picks whatsoever. Like
What
none.
you've said is quite offensive.
To who? To JJ McCarthy?
Kevin O'Connell.
Just
Anyone
NFL
who's
listeners.
watched the NFL. Yeah, exactly.
Well, listen, it's content. That's what we're here for.
As a Bears fan, when I am not, dealing with things in a professional capacity, I hate the Vikings. I would love to see the Vikings only win 4 games next season.
Yes.
As a normal person, I look at that roster, I look at the coaches and think, God, I think JJ McCarthy is going to look better than he should because of that situation he's in. I don't think they'll lose a load of games. Sam Darnold last season. Sam Darnold, Josh Dobbs.
But Sam
How
Darnold
is it that they
played
can win games with
well.
these guys.
Sam Darnold did really play well.
But why? He'd never played well anywhere else. What could be the factor? Could it be the coaches and the roster in Minnesota?
Right. I'm going to say it's not because he was on the Vikings. It's because he wasn't on the Jets or the Panthers.
That does help.
That's why.
Also, the fear of if I'm a quarterback with that team and I win 4 games, I think I don't live. I think Brian Flores kills me. So the fear of not wanting to be blitzed in practice by Brian Flores alone, I'm getting 5 wins.
As I say, I'm not defending it. I told you it was ridiculous. What I did when I first did these, I've done it twice. I had 2 teams going winless in the NFL, 2 of them. And I was like, well, I can't do that. So I had to change some stuff around. I had to. So
yeah, you've really got to, and you need to seek help. This is absolutely beyond the pale. Who were the winless teams?
It was no, it wasn't. It was
the Giants would have been one.
The Giants were one, and the Browns.
Oh.
I mean, in most games, they are going to be the underdogs. But this is the NFL.
It is.
And we see underdogs winning all the time.
Exactly. And that's why, I'm saying 4-13, because I went, they're going to lose that, win that. But half of those could be wins. But
I mean, the Browns and the Giants will be bad this season. I think we all know that.
I think it's going to take a miracle for Cleveland not to stink it up this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you say
sign Tyler Huntley, that'd be fine.
Yeah, they've got, what is it, 24 quarterbacks on the roster, so they're going to be trailblazers this year.
If you took the best bits of each of those players and put them into one quarterback and put them into that Vikings team, they would win more than 4 games.
Okay, right, okay. The Vikings going to win more than 4.
But if they don't, you have bragging rights basically forever.
He's got like 45 minutes of this podcast to go back on and do a victory lap.
Right. Well, okay. So here's a question. Here's a question for everybody.
Go.
What would it take for Kevin O'Connell to lose his job this year? What do you think?
No, he's not.
A horrendous scandal around sexual allegations.
Okay, not right.
Against
right.
players,
So
yeah, exactly.
There's nothing you could do. Nothing.
Okay. All right. Okay.
It was not for one season. Not for one season. If we're talking about nothing in terms of like behavior, just in terms of his coaching, I don't think there's anything he could do to get fired. NFL owners would be camping outside the headquarters, waiting for it to happen, and bundle him into a limo to try and get the first negotiation. He's one of the best coaches.
They absolutely would, because if they went winless, if they didn't win a single game, it's because something horrendous has happened, and it's not his fault.
Yeah, it won't.
I'd say the same with Ben Johnson. I think Ben Johnson could go 2-15 and nothing would happen. You would just get kind of backing for next year.
There's a dozen
in fact,
coaches.
All the coaches in the NFC North could have a disastrous season and would be given a grace period.
Yeah.
We've got in Green Bay and Minnesota 2 of the brightest young head coaches who just work miracles. You've got Dan Campbell, who, like I say, is a very different type of head coach, that CEO style. Everyone's got so much faith in him. I don't see how anything that could happen on the field could get him fired. And Ben Johnson, in year 1, his first season as a head coach, it's such an intriguing group of coaches. Dan Campbell is kind of the odd one out, but Dan Campbell is kind of like the elder statesman, most respected coach there. It's going to be a really fascinating division. I think it's going to be absolutely settled in terms of who wins that division. It will come down to those divisional games. And if the Vikings, I thought I was being harsh on the Vikings.
Me too.
I just
We're never going to get past this. We're never going to get past this.
I'm
going to have another beer.
Stunned. The beer is the least of your worries. I just don't know whether it's like you've been on morphine beforehand or something. This is just wild.
I already explained it, Isaacs. I already did. Right?
I think we've got a segment left, you know.
Oh, we do. We've still got another segment. And
when you got to 4 wins, did you not think, do you know what? Maybe the system's flawed.
Oh, I know the system's flawed. And that's why I said I will be revisiting all of these predictions in the week before kickoff.
Cop-out.
It's not a cop-out. Because for all we know, what happens if during preseason, during training, Justin Jefferson breaks his leg. Kevin O'Connell has a heart attack and goes into a coma. There you are. All of a sudden, they're a 4-win team.
You put in on the
I'm not.
You said if Justin Jefferson was injured last season, they were going to get to 9 wins.
Well, they would probably have lost 5 of the 6 of the games that they won. Yeah.
Kevin O'Connell in a coma would still be a better game day coach than Matt Eberflus.
I can't argue with that. Gentlemen, we've still got another segment to go through. My goodness. Are we all done talking about the NFC North? Now, Ben, are you okay?
I beg.
Are you okay? Are you all right?
Yeah, I've got to just push it down now.
Okay. Over, way down. Never let it back out again. That's how we deal with our emotions on the WINFL show. Okay, so we've got time for one more segment, and it is, of course, Random Stats. Ben, you are our guest. Would you like to go first, second, third, or fourth with your random stat?
I'll go first, please.
Ooh.
Not that I'm expecting anyone else to pull this one out, because I always try to do something a little bit different. I wanted something related to the NFC North, but I decided to look at one of the NFC North. Well, I'm more NFC Central when he was there, but one of the greatest players to ever played in that division, it's Barry Sanders. Everyone loved watching Barry Sanders. Absolutely scintillating player in the NFL. But when he was in college, I just need to put out there his average rushing yards per game in his final season of college football. And that record is 238.9 rushing yards per game over the course of the season, which is not surprisingly a college football record. And it would be higher if he was allowed to count the bowl game. That didn't count in the stats at those times. But he only played like 11, 12 games, scored 43 touchdowns, but 238.9 rushing yards. He had 4 300-yard games. Like, running backs should not have 300-yard games. He had 4 of the bastards in what is a short season. So, yeah, my random stat, 238.9 rushing yards per game for Barry Sanders. So, if anyone thought when he was coming into the NFL, well, he looked quite good, then they were right.
Barry Sanders is the greatest running back I've ever seen. I'm not old enough, despite what Dave thinks, to have watched guys like Jim Brown. I did watch Walter Payton briefly, obviously towards the end of his career. Seen Neville Smith, the all-time leader in that, but nobody was like Barry Sanders. Oh my word! I mean, I can't remember what it was when he retired. Was he like second all-time in yards and touchdowns and stuff?
No, but he wasn't. He was on pace. So at that point, Walter Payton still had the record.
So he had still the record, but he was averaging 1,500 yards a season.
Yeah, and he basically said at the time that he didn't think he was ever going to win a Super Bowl, and Walter Payton had not long died. He didn't like the idea of taking Walter Payton's record for the sake of taking the record when he would walk away without a ring. So he just decided, I'm done. And Emmitt Smith just kept going and kept going.
We went to Arizona
with
and
with Emmitt Smith, and obviously he is an all-time great. Emmitt Smith does not think he is the best running back of all time. He feels that Walter Payton and Barry Sanders are better than he is. But you've got to give Emmitt Smith credit for just his durability of being able to last that long. But Walter Payton also retired reasonably young.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty much injury-free his entire career. And part of the reason that Payton retired when he did was because he was getting involved in an ownership group to try and buy an NFL team. This is what he really wanted to do. He wanted to be the highest profile black minority owner in the NFL, of which there were no significant black minority owners at the time. Needless to say, he didn't have the money to buy, the team outright. He was only a minority owner. And it was when they were trying to get an expansion team or move a team to St. Louis after St. Louis had already lost or it had been agreed that the Cardinals were moving to Arizona. And there was a big ownership group trying to make sure that football carried on in St. Louis. And he had kind of been told that this was all going to happen. And that's partly why he retired when he retired. And then like a year later, it all fell through. And he wished that he'd carried on going because he still had something left in the tank. He was past his best, and he was in a backfield with Neil Anderson at the time. And Neil Anderson was like a hot young player and was kind of taking over the baton from Walter Payton. But yeah, where Barry Sanders and Payton could have kept going, Emmitt Smith just dragged it out, and he was not a particularly good player when he did take that record, and it just felt a bit like okay,
kind of forced it. Forced it, yeah. The other thing was, I believe that Barry Sanders, did he not had the most negative rushing yards in NFL history?
Sure, I think that might be correct. So he must hold the record as well for the most kind of like 2-yard runs where he's had to run 30 yards to get that.
Most broken tackles in the backfield.
Yeah, I mean he was on bad teams almost his entire career. Not his whole career, but almost his entire career. Those teams were bad, and he was just incredible. And
yeah, he was. But the greatest ever. It's hard. I know we've covered this before, and I do apologize. I know the podcast's running over, but it's hard to quantify to someone like Dave and Jake here who didn't see Barry Sanders play, especially for the length. I don't know if you caught him at the end of his career, of a team that ran 4 wide receivers on every single play. The silver stretch, as they called it, their version of the run and shoot. Shotgun on every single play, and defenses would put 8 men in the box. And they'd give the ball to the running back. And I swear to God, this happened. It was the weirdest thing, because you had 4 wide receivers. They've got 2 defensive backs, and you're running the ball. What are you doing? You're running the ball. What are you doing? And yet Sanders managed to go for 1,500 yards a season. You've never seen a guy break so many tackles before he got to the line of scrimmage. It was just unbelievable. But good mention of Walter Payton there. Just one of the all-time greats. One of the all-time greats there, Ben. Thank you very much for that random stat. Jake Winky, would you like to go next? Yes, go for it.
I would, and I'd like to bring up some breaking news. That the NFL has suspended Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison without pay for the first 3 games of the 2025 regular season for violating the NFL's substance of abuse policy. It begins. The Vikings downfall. The Vikings downfall begins.
How did you know, Ian? Were you supplying him with these substances?
Well, speaking of smelling, though, I did also see that the NFL has banned smelling salts.
Banned smelling salts?
Allegedly, yes. Because George Kittle
used for concussions.
George Kittle literally stormed it. They were doing a broadcast, and George Kittle stormed in because he was really angry that they had banned smelling salts because he uses them so much. So, there was a little bit extra news.
There we go. The downfall begins.
Jordan Addison, the first domino has fallen. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
And as we talk about the downfall, well, I'm looking at the 4th placed divisional finishes since 2010. And this came up because since 2010, neither the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Green Bay Packers have finished 4th once. They've managed to avoid it entirely. Baltimore, Seattle, Dallas, Indianapolis, and the Saints have only done it once. That'll change for one of those teams. The Cleveland Browns have finished 4th 9 times. No one else has come close. The next up is the Jets, the Bucks, the Commanders football team, and the Bears, which have all finished 4th 7 times. Detroit and Denver have done it 5 times. The LA Rams and Minnesota have done it 3 times. But yeah, it's mainly to say Steelers and Packers, well-run organizations, don't finish 4th. Cleveland Browns, terrible run organization, they finish 4th a lot.
Why don't I go next? Before? Sorry, Ben.
Isn't it that the Browns have never won the AFC North as well?
Yeah.
Obviously, they've won the old AFC Central, but they've never won the AFC North, which is remarkable.
Pretty bad.
Like, the sun shines on a dog's arse eventually.
Not in Lewis, it doesn't. Jake, I thought you were going to steal my random stat.
Was it close?
Oh, when you started off, I was like, what is he about to do? Because I spent ages researching this damn thing. My random stat, I'm not making that up. This is some of my notes from my random stat there.
Very legible.
Very legible. Well, that's because it wasn't focused. Anyway, here we are. So, since 2002, that was when the divisions were shifted. Got rid of the Central, and then we've got North, South, East, and West.
Hello, Texans.
Hello, Texans, exactly. Since 2002, in the NFC North, because that's the division we're dealing with. So it's 23 years. We don't care about who's won the division. We care about who's come last. Detroit, 10 times have come last in the division. Chicago, 9 times. Minnesota Vikings, 3 times. And the Green Bay Packers once in 2005. So the Minnesota Vikings last came 4th in 2013. As I say, the Green Bay Packers once in 2005. Detroit technically have the most with 10 4th place finishes, but the Bears have come last the last 3 seasons, Ben.
Deservedly so. And it just shows the difference that it makes when you can have some continuity at quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
I talk a lot about championship windows, and championship windows are only open when you've got a superstar quarterback. So when people were saying about, the Lions and the 49ers and their championship windows, they're not in championship windows. That's not to say they can't win Super Bowls, but you're in a championship window when you have an elite quarterback there. The stage below that is we've got quarterbacks we can rely on. And obviously the Packers have had a stunning run of quarterbacks. Since they acquired Brett Favre, they have generally had really good quarterback play. They've not taken step back. And you don't finish bottom if you can just keep having a good quarterback. And obviously the Lions and Bears have really struggled with that over the last 2 decades.
Yeah, I mean, and of course the exception to the rule is the Patriots, who haven't had a good quarterback since Drew Bledsoe. Dave, just put that out
New
there.
England do suck.
Dave,
Hello.
why don't you finish us off with your random stat?
Well, once a year I usually bring out the funny names in the college
Yes, you do.
Careful. Yeah, the look on Niels's face was more like, what do I bring out? But I obviously, Ben loves his college football, and I like to bring out the names of some of my favorites that I see that are coming into the college or are in the college. So we've got some of the kind of ones I brought up before. Darylis Clark from Kent State, because that's a great name. Some of the other ones, you've got King Large out of SMU. That's a genuine name.
Sorry, what?
King Large.
Please tell me he's an offensive lineman.
I mean, he's a big guy. Put it like that. That's all I'm going. I don't know where he is, but he can be whatever he wants to be, because I'm not telling him he's got to play somewhere else anyway if he's not. Another guy that's come up before, Dude Person out of Central Arkansas. That's a name. And of course, Louisiana Tech legend Pig Cage. That's one of the best ones, but there are a couple of new ones, and some of them are just brilliant. You've got Isaiah Bullardick out of Charlotte, excuse my French. You've got Badger Hargett out of LSU, Hargett, whatever. Crush Sowers out of Southern Utah, Deed Capper out of Wisconsin, Wing Green out of Campbell. Obviously, we've got out of Duke, they've got a couple of them. Memorable Factor.
Oh, that's not a name.
Memorable. It is his first name. Memorable Factor. So
you don't forget that.
So I was like, we'll name him something we can remember. Aye, okay.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can remember, but I think there's four more I've got on the list. You're going to really like some of them. Hollywood Smothers out of NC State. And I've left my three favorite ones to last. Out of Montana, Tommy Running Rabbit.
Tommy Running Rabbit.
Yep.
I hope he's a punter. Okay, who's next?
You've got Gideon ESPN Laprong, who is at Bowling Green. That is, middle name is ESPN. So there you go. His first name Gideon, obviously. It's his Sunday name, obviously. But my favorite one, because I have the mind of a 12-year-old, is Nitro Tuggle out of Purdue.
So I had two names that I thought, is he going to say these two? And yeah, Nitro Tuggle is in my top two with General Booty.
General.
That's right. I forgot about it.
I don't need specific booty. As long as I've got access to General Booty, then it's fine. I think there's a guy, Legend Journey, as well, which sounds like a video game. So yeah, just some great. I believe there's a Jadeveon Clowney's cousin is called Demon Clowney.
Demon Clowney. Oh, that's why would you
terrifying.
name your child that?
Well, he's probably not named that. They'll just say, "This is my name." General, I'm the opposite of this. This just annoys me because you found out afterwards his name's like Zach, and you're like, "Oh, well, that's tough, Zach." Zachary, go back to school, mate.
Well, do you not remember that he had at Nebraska the coldest Crawford, and he got an endorsement deal from an air conditioning company?
Yeah,
that was true. See, true. I don't make these things up. Half the names you think I make up. See, I've got Ben as my fact checker now, so yeah, it's the coldest Crawford as well, just for his nil deal.
Well, Thank you very much for that, Dave. Do appreciate it.
Just to interrupt, one last one. The Bears have the most ties, because I love my ties and my records. The Bears have the most ties with 42 in NFL history.
42. I mean, there were a lot of ties back in the day before overtime. Nitro Tuggle. I don't know how much we're going to see him on the field. He is currently, or at least was suspended from team activities for speeding. Nitro was suspended for speeding and reckless driving. He was arrested. So,
oh dear, gentlemen,
107 miles an hour Nitro was going.
Oh, I think we should probably wrap up the podcast then.
Yeah,
that's probably a good place to do that. Ben Isaacs.
Oh, are we recording?
Thank you. Yes, we are. Oh, yes. Thank you so much for joining us on the WINFL show. Again, we do appreciate you. It's always good to have you here. Thank you.
My pleasure. It's always so much fun. Always something unexpected comes out. I mean, just
yes.
it's going to keep me up at night.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just, good God. Let's get Ben out of here before something actually happens to him. Jake McGee, thank you very much for joining us.
The longest deep dive so far. I think we did talk a little bit about the NFC North in between that.
I think we might have done. Dave Somerville, thank you very much.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, thank you for Ben.
Yes, Ben, once again, a huge thanks to you. Thank you to everyone listening at home. Don't forget you can find us on Twix, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, Instagram, and of course, YouTube, where you'll be able to see Ben's lovely face as well. Yeah, there you go. So yes, thank you to everyone listening at home, and we will see you on next week's edition of the WINFL show.
And we're clear.